Have you ever stopped to ponder the origins of England? This land of the Queen, Shakespeare, and the Beatles, where did it all begin? The tale of England's creation is a saga that spans over a millennium, filled with invasions, battles, and the rise and fall of kingdoms. Today, we're going to delve into this fascinating history and uncover the origins of England. Our story begins in the 5th century AD, a time of great change in the British Isles. The Roman Empire, which had ruled the region for nearly 4 centuries, was in decline. The Romans had brought with them roads, cities, and a degree of stability, but as their empire crumbled, they withdrew from Britain, leaving a power vacuum in their wake. Into this void stepped the Anglo-Saxons, a collection of Germanic tribes from what is now Germany and Denmark. These tribes, drawn by the fertile lands and the opportunity to establish their own rule, began to migrate to Britain in large numbers. But this wasn't a peaceful migration. The Anglo-Saxons were warriors, and they came ready to fight for their new home. But what of the native Britons, the original inhabitants of the land? Why did they allow these foreign invaders to settle? Well, it's believed that the Britons were under attack from the Picts and Scots from the north. These tribes, emboldened by the Roman withdrawal, began to raid the Briton settlements. In a desperate bid for survival, the Britons invited the Anglo-Saxons to help them fend off these invaders. The Anglo-Saxons, however, had other plans. After successfully repelling the Picts and Scots, they turned on the Britons, establishing their own kingdoms across the land. By the start of the 7th century, the kingdoms of Essex, Kent, Sussex, Mercia, East Anglia, Northumbria, and Wessex had been established, marking the beginning of the Anglo-Saxon era in England. But the peace wouldn't last long. The Anglo-Saxons were about to face a new threat, one that would change the course of English history forever. The stage was set for the arrival of a new group of invaders, a force that would test the resolve of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and shape the future of England. The Anglo-Saxon period was a time of significant cultural and societal change in England. The Anglo-Saxons brought with them their own language, Old English, which would form the basis of the English language we speak today. They also brought their own pagan religion, worshipping gods like Woden and Thunor, who would later inspire the names of our days of the week: Wednesday, Woden's Day, and Thursday, Thunor's Day. The Anglo-Saxons also introduced their own system of law and governance. Each of the 7 kingdoms was ruled by a king, who was advised by a council of elders known as the Witan. The Witan had the power to elect and depose kings, making it an early form of parliamentary governance. Despite these advancements, life in Anglo-Saxon England was not easy. The constant threat of invasion and warfare meant that the people lived in a state of uncertainty and fear. But through it all, they persevered, laying the foundations for the nation that would become England. In the year 793 AD, a terrifying new force arrived on the shores of England. A Viking army landed at the Lindisfarne Monastery, marking the beginning of the Viking Age in England. The Vikings, seafaring warriors from Scandinavia, were known for their brutal raids and conquests. The attack on Lindisfarne was a shock to the Anglo-Saxons. The monastery was a sacred place, a center of learning and religion. The Vikings showed no respect for these holy sites. They looted the monastery, killed the monks, and set the buildings on fire. This brutal attack sent a clear message to the Anglo-Saxons. The Vikings were a force to be reckoned with. The Vikings didn't just raid and pillage, they also settled in the lands they conquered. They established their own communities, bringing with them their language, culture, and pagan religion. By the end of 870 AD, the Kingdom of East Anglia had fallen to the Danish invaders, and Mercia followed suit just 4 years later. The Vikings continued their relentless advance, seizing Northumbria in 875 AD. Only one major kingdom remained under Anglo-Saxon control: Wessex. When King Ethelred of Wessex died, his younger brother Alfred was left to defend his kingdom's independence against the Viking onslaught. The Viking invasions were a time of great upheaval in England. The Vikings were not just raiders and warriors, they were also traders and settlers. They established towns and trading centres such as York and Dublin, which became important hubs of commerce and culture. The Vikings also brought with them new technologies and ideas, such as advanced shipbuilding techniques and a complex system of runes for writing. But the Vikings were also ruthless and brutal. They were known for their ferocity in battle and their disregard for the sanctity of churches and monasteries. The Viking invasions brought a level of violence and destruction that England had not seen since the Roman conquest. Despite the devastation, the Viking invasions also brought about some positive changes. The threat of Viking invasion forced the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms to cooperate and unite against a common enemy. This unity would lay the groundwork for the eventual unification of England. But before we continue with this gripping tale of invasions and battles, why not hit the subscribe button? If you're enjoying this journey through England's fascinating history, make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Join us as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the past. Now let's get back to the story. Now, Alfred, now known as Alfred the Great, was a formidable opponent for the Vikings. Despite being vastly outnumbered, he managed to defend Wessex from the Viking invaders. But Alfred knew that merely defending his kingdom wasn't enough. He needed to reclaim the lands lost to the Vikings. In 878 AD, Alfred won a decisive victory against the Vikings at the Battle of Edington. This victory marked a turning point in the Viking invasion. Alfred forced the Viking leader, Guthrum, to convert to Christianity and recognize Alfred's rule over Wessex. This treaty, known as the Treaty of Wedmore, effectively created a boundary between the Viking-controlled lands in the north and east, known as the Danelaw, and the Anglo-Saxon lands in the south and west. But Alfred's vision extended beyond merely defending his kingdom. He dreamt of a united England, free from Viking rule. This dream would be carried forward by his descendants, setting the stage for the creation of England as we know it today. Alfred's reign marked a period of significant change in England. He implemented a series of reforms aimed at strengthening his kingdom and improving the lives of his people. He established a system of fortified towns, known as burhs, to defend against Viking attacks. He also promoted education and literacy, believing that a learned populace was essential for the prosperity of his kingdom. Alfred is also credited with creating the Dooms, a code of laws that laid the groundwork for English common law. These laws, which covered everything from property rights to criminal justice, were designed to provide a fair and just system of governance. Despite these achievements, Alfred's reign was not without its challenges. He faced constant threats from Viking invaders, as well as internal strife and rebellion. But through it all, he remained a steadfast and wise leader, earning him the title, the Great. Alfred's dream of a united England would not be realized in his lifetime, but his vision and his reforms set the stage for the events that would follow. His descendants, inspired by his dream, would continue his work, leading to the eventual unification of England. The dream of a united England was realized by Alfred's grandson, Aethelstan. In 927 AD, Aethelstan defeated the last remaining Viking kingdom in York, effectively bringing all of England under his rule. This marked the birth of England as a single, unified nation. Aethelstan's reign marked a period of relative peace and prosperity in England. He implemented legal reforms, promoted learning and literacy, and strengthened the English Church. His reign set the foundation for the England we know today, but the story of England's creation doesn't end here. The land of the Anglo-Saxons and Vikings would continue to evolve, shaped by invasions, political upheavals, and cultural shifts. The England we know today is the product of these centuries of change and evolution. Aethelstan's reign was marked by a series of military campaigns aimed at consolidating his control over England. He defeated the Vikings in Northumbria and the Celtic kingdoms in Wales and Scotland, effectively bringing the whole of Britain under his rule. Aethelstan was also a devout Christian, and he used his power to promote the Christian faith. He built churches and monasteries, promoted the study of the Bible, and implemented laws based on Christian principles. But Aethelstan's reign was not without its challenges. He faced constant threats from Viking invaders, as well as internal strife and rebellion. But through it all, he remained a steadfast and wise leader, earning him the respect and admiration of his people. The unification of England under Aethelstan marked a significant turning point in English history. For the first time, the various tribes and kingdoms of England were united under a single ruler. This unity would lay the groundwork for the development of a distinct English identity and culture. The story of England's creation is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its people. Despite the challenges and hardships they faced, they managed to create a nation that has endured for over 1,000 years. The England we know today is the product of their efforts and their dreams. So, there you have it, the story of how England was created. From the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons in the 5th century to the unification of England under King Aethelstan in the 10th century, it's a tale of invasions, battles, and the rise and fall of kingdoms. But remember, history is not just about dates and events. It's about the people who lived through these times, their hopes and fears, their triumphs and defeats. The story of England's creation is not just the story of kings and warriors, but also of the ordinary people who lived, worked, and died during these tumultuous times. And as we look at England today, a vibrant, multicultural nation with a rich history and a global influence, we can see the echoes of its past in its present. The story of England's creation is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its people, a story that continues to unfold to this day. The creation of England was not a single event, but a process that took centuries. It was shaped by countless individuals, from kings and warriors to farmers and craftsmen. Each of them played a part in the story of England's creation, contributing to the rich tapestry of history that makes up the England we know today. The story of England's creation is also a story of cultural exchange and adaptation. The Anglo-Saxons, the Vikings, and later the Normans each brought their own cultures, languages, and ideas to England. These influences merged and evolved over time, creating a unique and diverse culture that is distinctly English. As we delve into the history of England, we can see how the past has shaped the present. The legacy of the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings can still be seen in England today, from the place names and language to the legal system and cultural traditions. So, as we conclude this journey through England's past, let's remember the people who made it all possible. The kings and warriors, the farmers and craftsmen, the men and women who lived, loved, and died in the land we now call England. Their stories are our stories, and their history is our history.